Hello and welcome to Junior Achievement's virtual speaker series. Today, our special guest is Mr. Elvin Berndt, and Elvin is a VP of Business Development and has been an executive for the last 20 years. Elvin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Clara, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
It's absolutely our pleasure, and I know you have some wonderful information to share with our students. So let's start with if you could describe why you have a passion for changing lives.
Well, I think it's probably due to the fact that I've been fortunate enough throughout my life to have people around me that have given me opportunities and shared lessons with me. So I think it's just super important to make sure that when you've got the opportunity to pay it forward in any way you can. So I've stumbled into it, years ago, and I can just tell you that it gives you get a lot more out of it than you put into it. So I just thoroughly enjoy doing it.
Absolutely agree. So how do you bridge the gap between talent and opportunity? Because I know you talk about this a lot.
Yeah, well, for me personally, what I do is I take I look at the experiences I've had on the for-profit side of my life, as well as the non-for-profit side of my life. And I look at the relationships I've acquired, the contacts, the experiences, the content, just the lessons that I've been fortunate enough to have been exposed to. And then I look for those opportunities to say, where are the young adults that maybe haven't had that same opportunity? And so I see a tremendous potential on one side of that equation, and I see a tremendous amount of business acumen and relationships and things I've built up throughout my career. And I said, geez, if I ever connect those dots, we can really change the way, change some individuals' lives in a pretty meaningful way. So again, I just balance it out that way. I look at the potential on one side of the equation that I see out there, and all of the resources on the other side, and I just try to bring them together.
So in teaching that and in learning that, how have you communicated that to, say, high school students?
Well, I think it's really clear for them to understand kind of where they are. And the amazing thing I see is, as I meet a lot of these folks, that I think they've got tremendously more potential in a lot of cases than they feel they have, which always amazes me. So, first of all, kind of doing an inventory of like, hey, what skills do you have? And then also, having a clear understanding of where it is you want to go. It's like, so, if you have a destination you're trying to get to, whether in your career or whether it be in your educational path, do you have a clear understanding of where you want to go, so you can start to understand where your gaps are and what help you may need, or, because there's plenty of folks out there that are willing to help, and there's plenty of resources out there. But if you can't clearly define what it is you need, it's really tough for you to go out as an individual and make it happen. And I know, as we spoke last time, I told you that, I see hope is not a strategy, right? And so I always tell that to these folks is that, do you hope you get this job, or do you hope you get into the school, or versus do you have a plan? Okay. And there's a big, big difference. Hoping that something is going to happen probably is not going to make it happen. Okay. Versus defining a clear plan that you can execute on day in and day out, find out what resources you need to bring into that fold, and then hold yourself accountable to make sure you're moving it forward. Don't sit there and hope it's going to happen, because if you do, it probably won't.
So for those students who would say, I don't have the opportunity, there's no one to show me the way, there's not a mentor in my life, I don't see myself having any opportunities other than where I live, college isn't an option for me. Where do they start? How do they begin to change their mindset?
Well, first of all, if you don't believe you can do it, you won't. Okay. So like it starts with, first of all, understanding that, and again, just because, maybe college was the norm for certain generations, that's not the answer for everybody, right? So, trade schools, first of all, it's finding out what it is you want to do, what it is that you're passionate about. And again, it doesn't have to be a traditional, journey for everyone. I can tell you that my college education, compared to where I've gone in my career, is very limited. Okay. But, once you identify that, it makes it really, really clear and easy to put a plan together around what it is you need to do. Okay. But so I'd say start by defining this, what you want to do, because if you can't define it, it's super hard to get there. Okay.
Right, that's
Yeah.
absolutely right. And integrity, you talk about integrity, you're talking about how you show up matters.
Yeah, so integrity is a big one for me. I mean, it's all of our employees, they all understand that I have like zero tolerance around this one, because you can bring all of the skills you want to the table. You can bring all of the education you have to the table. If you don't bring integrity to the table, it's going to be a pretty short journey for yourself. And I've worked with a lot of great people throughout my career. And fortunately, I try to surround myself with the folks with integrity, but I can tell you the ones that didn't have it, they burn out pretty quickly. And when I say integrity, it's not this massive thing. It's like, hey, when your employer, if you told your employer you're going to show up at a certain time for a shift, did you show up? If you committed something to a coworker, did you meet that commitment? If you said something, you're going to do something with your family, did you hold yourself accountable to do that? Because it takes a long time to build that up. I mean, you build that trust up, whether it be with your employer, whether it be in your educational journey, whether it be with your family and friends. It takes time to build that up, and it takes it like literally seconds to rip it down. Okay, so I would tell everyone, if you start with integrity, live up to the things you say you're going to do, deliver on your promises, and I can tell you, you'll start to surround yourself with like-minded people, and I can tell you that really helps accelerate your journey.
Perfect. Thank you. So as a takeaway, if there were 2 or 3 things that our students could do now to build a successful strategy so they reach their true potential, what would those few things be?
Again, first of all, whenever possible, look for folks that are willing to raise your hand and say, hey, I need some help here. Don't be afraid to raise your hand. Don't be afraid to understand that there's things you don't know. Okay, there's things all of us don't. Believe me, there's a lot of things I don't know, a tremendous amount of things I don't know, but I have no problem at all raising my hand and asking for help. And I've just found out, in my life, that when you do that, there's always resources that just come to bear, and then there's a lot of good people out there that just want to help out. So find those resources in your community, and most certainly, if you struggle with that, pick up the phone and call me. Okay, and I'll find the resources for you. But you have to start to define what it is you want to do. You have to start to define, okay, where you are from a skill set perspective, from a motivation perspective. What are the things you want to do, and then build a plan and have stepping stones to get to that plan, and then hold yourself accountable every day to be better than you were the day before, and you'll get there. I mean, it's not rocket science. This is stuff that's all very doable. And I assure that there's anyone in the audience, they can do this. I mean, if they follow a structured plan, they'll get there.
Perfect, Elvin. This is great advice for our students. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been great. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.